He's been covering Houston sports since Ken Stabler was learning his playbook by the light of a jukebox. And he also broke quite the story, put it out there, that the Texans and the Dolphins might consummate a deal for none other than Deshaun Watson sometime this week. From the Houston Chronicle, our friend John McClain back here on the Rich Eisen Show. How are you, John?
Rich, I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing better for talking to you. All right. I saw your tweet, literally called you within 15 seconds after seeing your tweet saying that Deshaun Watson and the Texans might part ways this week, sending him to Miami. I'll give you the floor in your report, John.
Rich, as you know, their talks have been ongoing between the Texans general manager Nick Caserio and the Dolphins general manager Chris Greer for months. They've had a lot of teams that have showed interest, all wanted resolution of the legal issues. They wanted to know what is the status of the NFL and police investigations. Would Roger Goodell suspend him? And, you know, owner Stephen Ross would want to know that from Goodell before they do the deal. Now, the reason the talks intensified this week could be because we're getting closer to the November 2nd trade deadline, or it could have been because the Dolphins lost to the Jaguars in London. But I'll tell you this, Watson has a no-trade clause. All those other teams that have been interested, he's told them he will give up that no-trade clause if he can go to Miami. People believe one reason Will Fuller, his favorite receiver here after DeAndre Hopkins was traded, the reason Fuller signed with the Dolphins, he thought that Watson would eventually end up there. There's a lot of moving parts, as you know, Rich, but the bottom line is they've intensified the efforts. Caserio's wanted 3 1s and 2 2s. I'm pretty sure he'll get the 3 1s. Don't know if he's come down from the 2 2s, but they'd like to get it done by the end of the week. And if they don't, they'll get it done before the trading deadline.
So that's the question I was going to tell you is, like, this week. Why this week? You're just hearing that there's been some positive talks, that they're close. I mean, because as you know, in the NFL, this is a just after midnight league, and midnight again doesn't strike till the first week of November.
From what I understand, it started on Monday. They intensified the efforts. It's been going on all week. And I'll tell you something. I saw Watson leave the facility yesterday. I was outside. Now, Watson never moves fast. He's always in slow motion, except on the field. And I saw him hurry out to his car and take off, and I thought, well, that's interesting because he's leaving earlier than he usually does. He comes here to work. He works out on his own. He goes to meetings. He lifts weights, does everything he needs to do to be in the best possible shape for when he is traded. If it's during the season, Rich, he wants to hit the ground running. If they pull it off this week, the Texans play in Miami on November 7th, and I'm excited about watching J.J. Watt, DeAndre Hopkins go against the Texans. That would be even better if Deshaun Watson's first game were against his former team.
So, okay, lots to pick at here. John McClain of the Houston Chronicle, his report that a trade for Deshaun Watson going to Miami could be done as soon as this week. So, the question as to whether Watson would be allowed to play by the NFL, the fact that he's not on the commissioner's exempt list right now, best you can tell, is that because the commissioner knows there's no reason to do it because there's no chance on this green earth that Watson will play for the Texans and Texans won't have him out there because they know he can get hurt and thus ruin any trade that you're talking about right now? Or the fact is that if he's traded, that the commissioner could just tell the Dolphins he's not on the exempt list? I mean, there's so many question marks about his availability should a trade occur. John?
Rich, I've told you for months he will never take another snap for the Texans. He would not do it, and they don't want him to. If you think about since he issued his trade demand through his people close to Watson back right after last season, you know, that's caused this franchise a lot of trouble because they had a great young quarterback coming off a tremendous season in every statistic, by far the best he'd played. He did it without Hopkins. He did it without Fuller for the last 6 games, Randall Cobb for the last 5 games, Randall Cobb for 6, and yet he continued to play great. And so now they got to start over. He wanted to be gone before Nick Caserio was hired and David Culley, and then he explained to David Culley early in March that he would hold out, he would never report again. And so that's when they decided to trade him. And 8 teams were interested. And then when the legal issues started to pile up, they all withdrew and let the Texans know that if they were interested in trading him for less, they'd take the problem off their hands, and they were not. Nick Caserio has stuck to his guns to this point, and I do know this. They would like to trade him. He would like to be traded. And if they don't get it done by November 2nd, then they're going to wait all the way to the draft.
Oh, sure.
And I don't think they want this continued to fester.
Well, then the problem is about the legal issues. What are you hearing locally there? Anything?
Nothing. Rich, it's been quiet. The attorneys have been quiet. Usually it was Tony Busby firing a broadside,
right.
Rusty Harden responding. They've been quiet. Don't know if it means anything. And but I do know this. Stephen Ross would not allow the trade to be pulled off if he didn't think Watson were going to be able to play. And the only way he would know that is if he would talk to the commissioner. And remember, Roger Goodell works for him, not vice versa. And so I think when he's traded, he'll play.
Yeah, I know Roger's worked for a lot of people who's been very disappointed with his rulings, though, John. You know, that's the thing that's so crazy that you would think that somebody who's got such a business acumen that his name's all over the business school and my alma mater at Michigan wouldn't make a trade for somebody without knowing for sure concretely his availability. That's what was so surprising about a trade that's going to be done during the season. So if it's not this week, you definitely think it's going to happen before November 2nd. I know you mentioned that it would be done all the way through to the draft if not, but your sense of this is that it's going to happen.
My sense is that Deshaun Watson will be playing for the Miami Dolphins.
John McClain here on the Rich Eisen Show. Before I let you go on your busy day, the Astros are a game away from making the World Series again. What's your sense of this team, John, and how they are making their way through to a 3-2 lead right now in Houston?
Rich, for 4 games, it was worst starting pitching in playoffs I've ever seen. All the 4 starters couldn't get to 7 innings. And I thought they were done. After the way the Red Sox just obliterated them in the 2nd and 3rd game, I didn't think they would win. Now, all of a sudden, they're hitting again. Framber Valdez had an incredible pitching performance last night. As you can imagine, people here are pumped. And looks like I say the Braves beat the Dodgers. They had them down 3-1 last year, and the Dodgers responded. But people here didn't think, I don't believe. Once Lance McCullers was ruled out, I don't think people thought they were going to beat the Red Sox and the big bats that they have, but everything has fallen into place, and I think now they will beat them in one of these next 2 games, and they will move on to the World Series. They showed their resilience last year when they had to win 3 games in a row to go 7 against the Rays, and then they lost that last game, fell 1 game short, but they've been very motivated. And I think all the booing and the cheating and the negativity just fuels this franchise led by Carlos Correa, who I believe will be having a new zip code next year, unfortunately for the Astros.
Yeah, I know that. That said, Correa has been remarkable, and I know him, touching his wrist for Correa time is one thing. But the 8th inning home run in Game 4, down 2-1 by Jose Altuve, I think gets lost in the fact of how horrible Laz Diaz was behind home plate in Boston, certainly on that 1-2 pitch to Castro from Evaldi. But where does Altuve rank, do you think, in the history of Houston sports right now? Certainly if they pull off this World Series appearance and maybe even the ultimate. John, what do you think?
Well, the 2 most popular players in Astros history are Jeff Bagwell, Craig Biggio, both of whom are in the Hall of Fame. Altuve's right up there. He came here when the team was awful, suffered through those 3 consecutive 100-loss seasons, averaging 108 losses during those 3 seasons. The fans love him. That home run tied him with Derek Jeter, I believe, for the most home runs hit at clutch time, and he's been Mr. Clutch. And he's not going anywhere. They got him on a favorable contract when he was younger. But it's Duluth, Springer, and Correa 2 years in a row. I thought they could never overcome the Springer loss. And to think about Carlos Correa, who's been here since he was 18 and he was drafted, but they hope a miracle that Jim Crane, the owner, will come up with the money. But every time I see him on base or make a great play in the field, I hear ka-ching, ka-ching.
That's why he's touching his wrist. He should be touching his back pocket. So why is Correa going? Why is it?
It would be money. He said he was insulted by the $20 million a year offer they put out there, 25, and he's tight with Lindor. And Lindor signed that contract. What was it, like $300 $27 million. He's friends with Tatis. He saw the Tatis deal. And Correa will be 27 as an unrestricted free agent. It seems like he's been around longer than that. He had injury issues the previous 3 years. He did some different things about his back, and he's been healthy this season. And one of the things, Rich, that's most disappointing if they lose Correa, I've never seen a better leader. Things he does behind the scenes, I'm told, things he does in the dugout, on the mound. He is a tremendous leader. And I read something yesterday, the Yankees could use a shortstop, but could they sign him considering the fans? Those fans would eat up having Carlos Correa as their shortstop.
Yeah, I know. But, I mean, I don't know. Honestly, I know Steinbrenners are made of money. I don't know how much money's left. Judge is going to have to get the contract that Correa wants. That's going to be around the corner. They're already paying Cole and Stanton. Well, I don't know. Before I let you go, John, let's talk Rockets. They just tipped off their 2021-2022 campaign. What is the expectation level for this team in rebuilding mode right now?
They bottomed out last year. They ended up with second pick in the draft, got guard Jalen Green. They're very young. We believe they'll be bad again, and then the rebuild will take hold next season. It's like the Texans are rebuilding now. I contend, why win another game? Go ahead and try to get the top pick. But and then we saw what happened when the Astros bottomed out. So expectations are not high for the Rockets right now. But if you think about all these young guys, it's like you have your child, and you didn't get them somewhere else. They were born here. They're going to stumble and they're going to bumble, and you're going to watch them grow. And that's kind of the attitude fans are taking with the Rockets.
John McClain, always appreciate connecting with you. Let's talk certainly down the line. It's going to be a wild week. I mean, there's no PR hit, I guess, anymore. Trading Deshaun Watson in a week in which your team's going to go visit J.J. Watt and DeAndre Hopkins. That, I guess, strike the deal when you can, if they can, right?
Rich, thank you very much for having me. As always a pleasure.
Thank you. John McClain, Houston Chronicle, right here on The Rich Eisen Show. Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.